Hello and welcome to another Scam Chat Wednesday. My name is Alan Baker and I'm a volunteer fraud fighter with the AARP Fraud Watch Network in California. The AARP Fraud Watch Network is a resource for fraud prevention and education that AARP makes available free to everyone, not just AARP members. The Fraud Watch Network is all about helping us avoid frauds and scams through information, education, events, and resources. So thank you all for joining us for our second conversation in a series of weekly interactive fraud prevention and education conversations. Throughout August, we are co-hosting these webinars with our friends at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I hope you will help us make this a more interactive session by sharing your experiences and by asking questions. As always, we have set aside time at the end of today's presentation to answer your questions. If you think of a question during the presentation, you can ask it using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom window, and it will be answered during our question and answer time. Today, we'll be talking about how scammers impersonate government agencies and businesses in order to defraud us. So let's meet our first speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce Jackie Wiley. Jackie is with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, serving the Los Angeles region. Her specialty is helping older adults make informed financial decisions and to recognize the warning signs of frauds and scams. Thank you for joining us, Jackie. So, Jackie, would you please start us off by telling us what the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation is and what the agency does?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Alan, for the introduction. It's a pleasure for me to again be a part of the Scam Chat Wednesdays with our partner AARP. Like Alan said, I am one of the targeted outreach specialists with the DFPI. Next slide, please. A lot of people may not recognize the name DFPI or Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, but we are formally the Department of Business Oversight. We are California's state regulatory agency with oversight over state chartered financial institutions, products, and professionals, such as broker-dealers, investment advisors, escrow agents, financial lenders, payday loan facilities, just a host of others. We debt collectors, which is a new area for us, and a host of others. On the screen there, you see our website where you can get a full list of the industries that we regulate. And our role is simple. We are the regulatory agency that is making sure that all the companies or industries that we license and regulate are in federal and state compliance. We're taking action against those who are operating illegally, using deceptive and abusive practices. And we all know that that has heightened, especially since the pandemic. We're also investigating all the complaints that come into our department, again, heightening since the pandemic. Those scammers don't stop, and we don't stop trying to get them to cease and desist or to stop doing business unlawfully. And as part of my job is to educate Californians to make sure that they are receiving tools and the awareness of the trends that are targeting us so that we can be careful and not to fall victim to them. Thank you, Alan.
Wow, thank you, Jackie. It's good to know that we have DFP on our side. Next, let's do a little poll about our experiences. Strat, please bring up the poll question. I'm sorry, could you bring it back up? I missed it at least. There we go. So go ahead and fill in your experience in the poll. Scammers are often trying to exploit our trust in organizations and authority figures by contacting us directly. So let us know whether these scammers have reached out to you. And you can answer more than one of these. And we'll take 5 more seconds. Okay, Strat, can you show us the poll results? Wow. Looks like almost over half the people have been contacted by Amazon scammers, almost half by IRS scammers and Social Security scammers. Bank, and a few people have never been contacted. Okay, thank you, Strat. So Jackie, today we're talking about how scammers impersonate people that we trust. How are they contacting us, and what kind of roles might they impersonate?
Well, I want to say first, pertaining to the poll answers, Amazon is leading the way, and we hear about all types of scams with Amazon, with the banks, and then of course with the IRS and Social Security. Scams come in many varieties, but they all work the same. So next slide, please. We should all know by now the method of contact from scammers to us is phone, whether it's our home phone or our cell phones. It's computers, it's emailing us, it's text messages, sending us short messages on our cell phones. And they've gotten sophisticated. So you see the new names there: vishing for phones, a voice contact, phishing with the PH, which is phishing information from us through our emails if we're not reading it correctly. And then smishing are those short messages services that come. But I implore to everybody who is on the call today, do not respond to any of these attempts to contact you. There's the same methods, but more sophisticated in approach, making calls, texts, emails even more believable. All the messages have the same thing in common, Alan: sense of urgency, limiting you on time to act. They want you to act now, sometimes threatening us. If you don't do it, they're going to have somebody come and arrest you. And they all and can be frightening, which can cause us to react before verifying our information. Scammers, they say there's a problem or there's a prize. They pressure you to act immediately. They tell you to pay in a specific way. And now scammers are pretending to be from an agency or an organization that we know, and to gain our trust even more. Scammers are known to use legitimate names now, such as the Social Security Administration, the IRS, Amazon, and sometimes we'll see the number that actually will verify or say Internal Revenue Service. That's a spoofing mechanism that is being used, spoofing other official government phone numbers, and sometimes even the local sheriff and police departments are showing up on our call viewer. But they're also starting to send official looking documents by US mail, and sometimes attaching proof, quote unquote, so that you don't be suspicious. Next slide, please. That's why it is more important for us to all continue to be suspicious when we receive a call, a text message, an email, a letter, or a message on social media out of the clear blue sky. Because why? We don't really know who the sender is or who is on the other end of the line. So today we're going to talk about a couple of those that we are hearing that are very critical, those that are surfacing mostly all the time. So let's talk about some of the popular government imposter calls, texts, and emails that we're hearing about. Next slide, please. Just like in the poll, that infamous IRS phone call, the Internal Revenue Service. So again, imposters are spoofing the number to show us that it says Internal Revenue Service. You may get the call and they'll demand payment and they'll tell you need to pay it right now. But the IRS will not call you and will not demand payments for you. They're not going to threaten to arrest you if you don't pay right now. And they won't ask for a credit or debit card number over the phone. So let's just stop and think. If the IRS was calling everyone who owed or past due taxes, they would be out of business. Then they wouldn't be able to really help us for what we really need the help with. So they won't call you, text you, or email you out of the blue and demand money. So stop. Don't click on any links or call the numbers that are left on your machine, even if your caller ID shows it. Go to the source yourself. Next slide. Another government imposter scam that we hear about all the time is that Social Security scam. So again, scammers might call, email, text, write, or message us on social media, and they're going to be claiming to be from the Social Security Administration Office or even the Office of Inspector Generals. They may even use the name of a person who really works there and might send a picture, again, as proof of attachment. This is a government agency. We're saying this over and over again. Government agencies will not and do not call you. So if you get that phone call telling you that they're identifying themselves as a Social Security Administrator employee, maybe your card has been frozen or they're suspecting that it's been used in a different state or some other kind of way, please hang up. Don't believe the caller. Again, that was an incoming call to you or a text message out of the blue. Can be frightening, but slow down, take your time. Don't click any links or call numbers. Go directly to the source, meaning call the Social Security Administration yourselves. Next slide, please. And the last one that I wanted to talk about and bring note to is another government imposter scam, which is we're hearing about that utility bill scam. You know, you'll get the phone call with somebody identifying themselves from the utility company that you use, and they will say that, you know, they work in the disconnection or the delinquent department, and they're giving you a call as a courtesy to let you know and remind you that your bill is past due. Well, let's start by saying that there is no disconnection department with the utility company, and they're not going to demand an immediate payment right now. So they'll go on further to tell you that if you don't pay right now, we'll take credit card, we'll take check by over the phone, that your services are going to be shut off by the end of the day. Please don't believe that. And they don't accept prepaid cash cards, coins, or cash apps for payment. So if someone is instructing you to go and do that, that is a red flag sign. Stop. Don't click. Don't believe the caller, because again, we don't know who is on the other end of the line. And to heighten it and to put more food for thought, please know that none of the three entities that I mentioned today are going to call you, text you, or email you and ask for any personal or financial information. If your bill is late with the utility company, you're going to get that information in the mail. And then the IRS will not call you. You're going to get information from them in the mail. And Social Security Administration, you're going to get something from them in the mail. But on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we also need to be mindful that they're with the artificial intelligence, and that we need to pay attention to the logos, because there's official looking logos when they're sending us things in the mail. So be mindful and just go to the source yourself. So nowadays we have to remember that fear is false evidence appearing real. And that is what the imposters want to create. Urgency, nervousness for us to react right away. But we need to be skeptical when there are attempts to contact us. So if you haven't heard anything that I've said today, go to the next slide, please. Stop and know that government agencies do not, will not, and won't call you. Verify before you depart with your money. Go directly to the source yourself, Alan. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Jackie. It sure is important to slow down and think about these calls. Just hang up and contact the organization directly. Don't use the scammer's contact information.
Absolutely. And pay attention to grammatical errors within mails and emails that you do receive. Delete the emails, the short messages when you get one and it's telling you that there's a problem with something. And I'm sure Sally will talk about that in her portion of the presentation today.
Good advice. Thanks, Jackie. Folks, remember that if you have a question about what Jackie just told us, you can enter it into the Q&A and Jackie will answer your question later in the program. Our next speaker is Sally Westlake, and she is also with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Sally is an educator and the coordinator of outreach programs. She focuses on consumer financial education and scam and fraud prevention. And today, she's going to talk with us about business imposter scams. Welcome, Sally.
Thanks, Alan, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here. Let's get started. Next slide, please. Great. So business imposter scams, just like in government imposter scams, like Jackie just talked about, is when a scammer may call, text, or email to convince you they are someone in authority. And their whole purpose is to get you to send them your money or share your personal information. Next slide, please. So imposters may pretend to be from a company you trust, businesses with names you're familiar with, have heard of, or even have done business with. Are you getting scammed on Amazon? When an elderly man in Ohio received a call from Amazon security telling him his personal account was in danger, he acted quickly. Following the caller's instructions, he set up a new Amazon profile attached to his bank account. But the caller wasn't from Amazon security, it was a scammer. And within hours of the phone call, the man's bank account was emptied of more than $124,000. And according to the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, reports of Amazon scams increased by 500% between June 2020 and 2021, with victims losing more than $27 million to scammers. About 1 in 3 people who report a business impersonator scam say the scammers pretended to be from Amazon. So of the 273,000 people who reported a business impersonator from July 2020 to June of 2021, about 96,000 said the scammer claimed to be from Amazon, about 35%, and about 16,000 said the scammer claimed to be from Apple, that's 6%, and the other business impersonators made up the other 59%. Amazon and Apple are the most impersonated brands in the world, according to the FTC. Another type of Amazon scam is when Amazon sellers asking for payment off the platform. That's when scammers create an Amazon listing for what appears to be a genuine product. They may even add fake reviews to draw more attention and build trust. So when you attempt to purchase the product, the scammer contacts you with a link to an off-platform payment option like a Cash App or even Western Union. Now, if you follow that link, your payment and potentially your credit card information goes straight to the fraudster. Well, what happens if you get a text message from a bank, even a bank that you may do business with a fraud alert? What should you do? Do not respond to the text. Do not engage. Do not call the number in the text, but instead go to the source and call your bank using the number you know is correct from the back of your bank card, your statement, or even a Google search. How about if you get a text from your bank that says, "Did you send $500 via Zelle from your account?" And it says yes or no. Again, do not engage, do not respond, but call your bank directly using a number that's correct to confirm if there is an issue. You want to delete that text. Now, how about you get a phone message also from Mrs. Jones from your bank asking you to call her today because she sees unusual activity on your account. and she leaves a phone number. Do not call that number that's left on your message on the answering machine. Instead, go to the source. Call the real number of your bank to verify and see if there really is an issue. Also, since tech support scams began emerging about 15 years ago, the criminals' techniques have evolved. Today's scammers, for example, might gain access to your computer, maybe perhaps through malware, and make it difficult for computer users to simply close a window to get rid of a fake virus warning pop-up by switching the browser to full screen mode and hiding that exit button. This way, people are easily convinced they really have a problem with their computer and therefore don't see any other option than to call that hotline that's being promoted on that pop-up window. When in doubt, shut it down. If you can't close a browser window to get rid of a fake virus warning pop-up, try to reboot your computer. If you're really stuck, just pull the plug. That's what I had to have my dad do one day. My dad's 86 years old, and he called me one day in panic because a fake virus warning pop-up ad was playing. It actually had volume and sound, and it was saying your computer has been infected and you need to call this number. And it was very loud because my dad held his cell phone up to it for me. I tried to explain to him that it was a scam, but he was worried and couldn't close it, get rid of the pop-up ad. So I had him pull the plug, actually disconnect his computer, and he may lose any documents potentially that he was working on, but that is worth the risk by just unplugging that computer. Legitimate tech companies will never ask you to call a phone number or click a link, according to the FTC. If you get an unsolicited call, email, or text telling you there's a problem with your computer, ignore it. Real tech support staffers, like from Norton or Microsoft, will never contact you out of the blue. If you really think your computer has been infected with a virus or malware, take your computer into a brick and mortar repair shop run by someone you trust. How about lottery and prize scams? This old scam still works. You might get a call, an email that says you won the lottery or a big prize. Scammers are really good at making it so enticing that you may want to respond or call that number. But once you do, they say there's a small processing fee, then taxes, and then more fees, and it keeps adding up. Because once you start paying, there is no stopping until the scammers basically have taken you for everything you have. They will encourage you to keep this a secret from your family and friends because you wanted to make it a big surprise for them. Stop. Think. Did you enter a lottery or a drawing? Again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Have you been asked to donate to a charity? It may be an organization that sounds familiar or one that you've heard of, or one that you've never heard of. They may say they're calling about a good cause, but they can't tell you the simple details like how your donation is going to be used. They may say the charity only accepts cash or push you to donate immediately. If so, they may be a charity scammer. Check the website and don't sign up where they're soliciting directly, like outside of a store. Most reputable organizations are not calling you directly for donations. Next slide, please. Besides Amazon being the most impersonated brand scammers use, the FTC has filed suit against Amazon. On June 21st of this year, the FTC has sued Amazon for enrolling people in its Prime program without the consumer's consent. And once the consumers were signed up, the complaint also charges that Amazon set up online obstacles that made it difficult for the people to cancel their Prime subscription. Basically, if you were not a Prime member and you were on their site making a purchase and trying to check out, they made it very hard to check out without signing up as a Prime member. And they made it very easy to check out without knowing you agreed to a membership. And let's say eventually you ended up noticing you're now a member and paying up to $14.99 a month, and you tried to cancel that membership. you faced a labyrinth-like process. I personally have tried to cancel a trial added-on subscription to my Prime membership, and it took several searches on Google on how to do it, several chats on the chatbot on the website, and then finally having to call their customer service number to have the subscription removed. So if you do not have a Prime membership but like to make purchases on Amazon.com, please be careful when checking out. I can't wait to see how this lawsuit eventually fans out. Next slide, please. So what if the story sounds true? Scammers are very good at fooling people. Scammers also want to rush you. They want your money before you have time to think. That sense of urgency is to prevent you from having time to think clearly and question their behavior. So before you send money to someone you don't know, please stop, think, and check, and share with your family and friend about what you're doing. Tell them, hey, did you guys hear about this new great product, this new offer, company, or business? I'm thinking about donating to the Maui Relief Fund. I'm thinking about buying this, etc. I want money. Having your friends and family knowing how you'll be spending or sending your money can be the help you need from becoming the next victim of a government or business scam. Next slide, please. So how can you avoid being an imposter scam? Never give personal information unless you initiated the contact. Make sure you know who is on the other end of that phone call or email or text. Don't return phone calls left on your voicemail. Verify that the number there is, verify that number before you're returning the call. So unknown calls or numbers, don't answer it. Let them leave a message, okay? Or if you get stuck on a call, unsolicited call, hang up. It's okay to say no thank you and just hang up that phone call. Remember, the longer you stay on a phone call with a scammer, the more likelihood that you're going to be providing personal information in a short amount of time. Remember, government agencies do not call unless you ask them to, unless you initiated the contact, and they especially will not threaten you for payment. Don't click on any links sent to you via text or email, because again, you don't know who sent you that. Now, monitor your credit annually and consider freezing your credit. Under the new California protection law, the department, DFPI, currently now regulates the credit reporting agencies. So you are entitled to a free credit report from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So please get a free credit report to know, make sure that there is no identity theft, because that's the first sign you'll see identity theft could be on your credit report. And if you're done accessing your credit, consider freezing your credit, because what that means is you cannot open up any new credit, but neither can the scammer unless you unfreeze your credit report. So you can contact Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax directly to either order a free credit report or to freeze your credit. Or you can also get your free credit report at www.annualfreecreditreport.com. Verify there is an issue before responding to a text, email, and as Jackie mentioned, go to the source yourself. Alan?
Wow. Thank you, Sally, for sharing that about how scammers pretend to represent companies we trust and take advantage of our trust, and for reminding us to slow down and think before acting. Do you have other helpful resources that we can share with our audience?
Yes. Next slide, please. So please contact us at DFPI if you have any questions about any of our licensees, financial scams, or you want to file a complaint. Remember, we're the state agency and we are a consumer protection agency. So please, we want to be able to afford and give you help in case you need it. We have wealth of information on our website, like the crypto scam tracker. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter to learn more about our upcoming events, our current scams that's trending, and more. And if you would like our outreach team to participate at your next webinar or event, please email us at outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. Next slide, please. So it's still extremely important to report these scams and these crimes. The more information the authorities have, the better they can identify patterns, link cases, and ultimately catch the perpetrators and possibly potentially get some of your money back. So again, contact us at dfpi.ca.gov. You can report scams and fraud to the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, at reportfraud.ftc.gov or call them at 877-382-4357. And cybercrimes can be reported to FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at www.ic3.gov. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you, Sally. Now let's take some questions from our audience. You can either type your question into the Q&A using the icon at the bottom of the Zoom window, or you can raise your hand using the raise hand icon that's also at the bottom of the Zoom window. Please make your question brief, and remember that we are live streaming, so don't reveal any personal information. So let's begin with a question from the Q&A. We have a question from Sharon Martin, and Sharon says, someone was at my front door trying to get me to switch internet providers, and only when I was asked for my driver's license number did it dawn on me that there might be a scam. Your thoughts, Sally?
Yes, definitely. You have to be really careful of unsolicited visits to your door, right? If someone knocks on your door, you want to verify. I mean, first of all, do you need their service, right? But if you do, and you did want to talk to this new internet service provider, check their badge, check their ID, make sure you know who it is you're talking to. Never invite them into your home. Have them leave the information at the door, and then you can verify, you can call them and see what service is being provided and if that's something you really want. But yes, you should not be giving personal identifying information like your driver's license to someone who just knocked on your door.
Great, thank you, Sally. Another question, how prevalent are voice scammers who record our voice and use it to enter our accounts? How does that work? Sally?
Great. So thank you for that question. That's a fantastic question. So we ask and we provide the information that if someone calls you on the phone and says, Sally Westlake, is this Sally Westlake? Do not answer with the yes, because they can take that yes and use it to commit financial scams and frauds. I don't have numbers as far as statistics go on how prevalent that is, but we know it is being done using your recorded voice to open up financial accounts and commit financial fraud.
Wow, thank you.
I would like to add to that. Artificial intelligence is becoming very prevalent, and it's going to be used in so many different ways. We have really got to be careful about saying names on social media, TikTok and Facebook and things like that, and just how voice recordings can and will be used in an abundance of different ways. So we have to protect ourselves and be mindful of that.
Thank you, Jackie. We have a question from Barb B, and Strat is going to bring Barb online to ask the question.
Bob, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you. I think Bob might have not unmuted herself. Bob, if you'd like to ask your question, please unmute yourself and ask your question. I guess Bob does not want to ask a question. We can take another question from, I believe we have another question from Sharon. She had a second question. Would you like me to bring her live?
Sure.
Okay, one moment.
Unmute, please, Sharon.
Hello?
Well, yes, please go ahead and ask your question, Sharon.
I'm assuming this is the first question I put in Q&A. Is it?
You had two questions in there.
Yes,
Whichever
go
you'd
ahead.
like to ask.
All right, the first question was, I had a friend who died, but I keep getting emails from someone who is claiming to be her.
Mm.
Sure, is there a problem with just clicking open to find out what's being asked or said, or should I just delete it without even opening it?
I would delete it without even opening it. I mean, she's deceased and family and friends would know that. So I wouldn't even bother to open it and to see what it's about. I would just delete it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I can expand on that, thank you, Sharon, for a great question. Now, if you get an email and you may not know who the sender is, it's okay to open the email. Opening the email doesn't make the scammer know that you opened it necessarily. You can open the email. It's what's inside the email. You do not want to click on any links, open any attachments, or respond to an email when you don't know who the sender is and if you can't confirm who the sender is. If you take your mouse and hover over the URL or the email address, the sender, if it's from your bank, it should say bankusbank.com. It shouldn't say from Smith at Gmail 725, right? So you want to make sure that it's coming from a real person, the business that you actually do business with. But again, do not open any attachments or any links and delete that email afterwards.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sally. I'd like to also toss in another suggestion, and that is that if indeed that deceased person's email account has been compromised and taken over by some scammer, you might want to contact the family of the person so that they can close out that account and shut the scammers off. We also have a question from Vicky C. And Vicky, would you like to come on and chat with us and ask your question? Strat, if you could make Vicky C's unmute her.
Vicky, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself on your end and ask your question.
Oh, Vicky doesn't have a mic, so I will be her microphone. In the Q&A, she asked, are any calls that claim to be from Medicare ever real? I've heard that Medicare Advantage does call people, especially during open season. Jackie or Sally, could you answer that one?
And it can be. It could be a real person calling. I myself get phone calls from my mom claiming to be from her Medicare insurance company, wanting to do A, B, and C. And I'm very careful about, they'll say, is this such and such? And I'll say, yes, who's calling, what is it pertaining to? But I'm not going to provide any information because, again, I don't know if this is really Medicare calling me even if it's open enrollment, I'm going to go to the source. And that's exactly what I have been doing, is contacting the company, her insurance company, her Medicare people myself, and verifying. And they've said, oh yeah, we do have people calling, but I just don't trust it. I just really don't. So that's just my advice or my spiel for that.
Good advice. Go to the source.
Yes.
We had a question about whether this is being recorded, and yes, it is. It will be available as a recording on YouTube. We also have a question from Dorothy saying, I get a lot of people coming by wanting to put solar panels on my roof. Are these scammers? What do you think, Jackie?
Well, when we talk about scams and fraud, now it's like in my head, everything's like, is it a scam? Is it a scam? Is it a scam? My thing with people coming by out of the clear blue, offering to do solar panels on my roof, you don't know who they are. Again, go to the source and ask yourself, are you interested in solar panels? Were you interested before they came by, and offered this? So these are questions that we need to start asking ourselves. But again, like Sally said, I'm talking to you through the door. I'm not inviting you in. Leave the information on my door. But if you are interested in solar panels, Ms. Johnson, I would go to the source and not deal with someone who is just automatically coming up and offering that.
Thanks, Jackie.
Can I add to that, Ellen?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Yeah, thank you for a great question. I get knocks on the door at least 2 times a week from solar panel salespeople.
Yeah.
I do not answer. I say I'm not interested. But if I was interested in, getting solar for my home, I'm going to have them leave the information at the door, and that's it. Okay. Even if you say you're not interested, but leave the information, guess what? They're coming back because you showed some interest, right? Solar panels can be great for some, but not necessarily beneficial to others. If you get a solar panel salesperson that says, oh, you can get it free, okay, under this PACE program, for instance, solar panels are not free. Okay, if you get it under the PACE program, yes, you may not have to pay an upfront fee, but eventually you're going to have to pay, and that payment is actually tied to your annual property tax. Okay, you can get more information, or please join us next week on Scam Chat Wednesday next week, where we are hosting home improvement scam webinar, and you'll get a lot more information about solar panel scams. Thanks, Dorothy.
Yeah, excellent advice, Sally. And we will be back in a week to talk further about these home improvement scams. A question that has popped up multiple times is about further information out of state or newsletters or other resources. At the end of this presentation, you'll see another slide that has all that good stuff on it. So wait just a few and we will have it for you. We have a comment rather than a question from Anna saying that someone from her health insurance company keeps offering free services and then asking her to verify that you're the right person by asking personal questions. And of course, that's exactly what Sally and Jackie have been talking about. Don't answer those personal questions. Just hang up if they're really not, they're fishing for your information.
That's the exact same call that I'm getting for my mom. And even on the caller ID, it shows SEIU or whatever the case may be. And I just tell them, you know what, we're good, thank you. So they're offering the nurse home visit type thing. So again, I'm not giving her any information. I'm actually calling her health insurance company myself. That is what you need to do as well.
Go to the source. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jackie.
Absolutely.
And Sally, yes?
Yeah, so when it comes to health insurance companies, if they're calling you and it's your health insurance company, they should have your information on their file, right? They shouldn't have to be asking you, oh, your date of birth information. Yes, you want to confirm, they may verify, but again, it's only going to be a couple of numbers. They should have your personal information and shouldn't have to ask you for it. So if that's the case, you want to hang up. Now, if it does even have to be, happen to be your insurance company or someone related, and they're saying, let's say they're offering you durable medical equipment, saying, oh, you can get a free wheelchair, right? And you're like, well, yeah, I guess I could use it, but do I really need it? That all comes at a cost, right? Your doctor has to say you need a durable medical equipment like a wheelchair. So while they want to just send it to you, they want you to say, yes, you want a wheelchair, get your insurance information, possibly bill Medicare, right? And you may never end up with that wheelchair. If it's a scammer, they're not sending it to you. They're just billing Medicare for it. So please be careful, again, who it is you're talking to on that phone call.
Good advice. Thanks. I have another question about how prevalent are voice scammers who record our voice and use it to enter our accounts. And here, this question is a perfect lead into our scam chat Wednesday move to Friday. So if you join us on Friday, you will learn much more about this. It's a fascinating area, and we'll have a whole hour dedicated to AI scams. And Sally, would you like to talk further about that question?
Sure. So as far as we know, your voice being recorded, just saying yes, can access and create fraudulent accounts. But if your voice is recorded in a sentence, things like that, they're actually using that for AI scams against grandparent or relative scams, where you might get a phone call that says, Mom, I've been taken, I've been kidnapped, right? And they can just take now with technology a few bits of, let's say, your daughter's voice and create a sentence, create a long paragraph that sounds just like your daughter. It's happening. And again, please join us this Friday where Alan and Jackie, they're talking about artificial scams.
Thank you. We have a question for someone in the DFPI asking whether DFPI takes complaints against lawyers who stole their client settlement.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sally.
Okay, so the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, DFPI, we actually do not have any regulatory authority over lawyers. What you can do is Google who regulates attorneys. But from what I understand, you're going to go to www.calbar.ca.gov for more information and how you can file a complaint against an attorney.
Great. And thanks, Strat, for putting up the slide of information. A minute ago, someone was asked, Jackie was saying that she got a call where the caller ID number was from a legitimate company, and yet the caller was a scammer. Jackie, can you tell us how that worked?
Yeah, just like I was saying earlier, just because the viewer on your phone shows the name of the reputable organization or of a company that you are familiar with, doesn't always mean that that is who it is. So especially like Sally and I were talking about, somebody calling and it's ABC Bank, and you sit and then say, oh, I wonder why the bank is calling me. That is a red flag right there, So if the bank is calling you, but the caller is asking you to verify who you are, again, they'd have that information. But remember, they called you. So whether it shows me the name of the Internal Revenue Service, Social Security Administration, Medicare, Medi-Cal, I am going to go to the source, especially because we have so much new technology. We don't know who is on the other end of the line. If you didn't initiate it, if I didn't initiate the phone call, I'm going to be skeptical and I'm going to go to the source myself. Yeah.
Thanks, Jackie. Well, one more question to wrap up. What if a caller asks me to press a number?
Oh, God.
Should I do that?
Judy, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry. I forgot. Somebody unmuted me. I have several things to say, but nobody ever asked me anything.
No, we're not pressing 1 or pressing 2 to engage the caller. And then also, if you answer the phone call and sometimes you'll say, hello, 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 and no one is there. And then all of a sudden you'll hear a background and the person might just come on and say, hi, Miss Jones, it's Harry calling you. They are pretending like you've had a phone call with them in the past, that maybe you don't remember the conversation, but do not press the 1 or the 2. It is engaging you into the conversation. Okay, so don't do that.
Great. Good advice. Thanks, Jackie. So let's do another little poll about today's conversation. Strat, would you please bring up the poll question? Okay. So go ahead and let us know now whether this webinar was helpful.
Is it okay to speak up before we close?
One moment, Judy.
Okay, just asking.
Okay, we'll give it about 5 more seconds, and then Strat, you can close the poll and show us the results. Wow, very helpful. Hey, good job, Jackie and Sally. Lots of people like this stuff. I sure do. So thank you both.
Thank you
Judy,
for
go
having us.
ahead. Yes, Judy, what was your question?
I don't have a question. I have a comment. You need to be aware that you should never, ever answer the phone if you don't know who the number belongs to. Let it roll over to voicemail. The minute you answer the phone and it's a scammer, they go, aha. They sell your number for more money. It's how they make their living. And you have just proved to the scammers that you are one who will pick up the phone and answer it. So please don't. The same thing goes with your email. Do not unsubscribe to anything that you haven't subscribed to in the first place. Please mark it as spam to let you know your email provider that this is a spam email, and you will eventually start getting less spam. Everything that you think that is spam, again, mark it as spam. I got a spoofing call from not a bank or somebody like that, one of my best friends. And as I said, I don't answer any phone calls if I don't know the number. I know her number. It was a phishing call. I'm very security conscious. It could have knocked me over with a feather. And it was Judy. Now, don't be alarmed, blah, 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 blah. And I could not understand him. He was calling from offshore. And my comment was, oh my gosh, you mean I accidentally answered a spam call? Click. So I called her number. It rang and rang and rang and rang and rang. and then click, somebody picked up the phone and then hung up. I called her son and said, please call your mother, my son-in-law, please call your mother. And he got through. And she told me she'd been trying to call me all morning long and was unable to get through. She could not get through to my number. And we are Spectrum to Spectrum. So in that case, I called customer service with Spectrum and asked to speak to the fraud department. Again, that's a step you need to take in reporting anything that happens to you like that, because that's the way to get this stuff to stop. You don't answer. I get very few rings on my phone, and Spectrum says it's spam risk if they perceive it as spam, because I don't answer the phone if I don't know who's calling.
Well,
Good
thank you,
policy
Judy,
step.
for sharing all those important and great tips. Yes, the scammers, it's a very high end network of scammers that get together and create this type of scams to steal people from, steal money from people. So one of the things you can do, like Judy mentioned, don't answer calls. Jackie mentioned, it's called spoofing. They can make any phone number look like it's coming from a different number. And that's why it can read on your answering machine or on your cell phone that it's the IRS, that it's the SSA, and also it could be from your contact. So thank you, Judy, for sharing your great tips. And I think we've gone over most of everything. Jackie, is there anything you want to add?
No, I just wanted to also say, Judy, thank you very much for all that information, because it does work. Again, just don't answer the phone if you are not knowing who it is. And just thanking AARP and those who are on the call. Thank you for that whole response. It seems like Sally and I and Alan, were able to bring information that's imperative, critical, and very necessary for today. So thank you all for being here, and thanks again for the Scam Chat Wednesday.
Is there time for me to say one more thing?
Very briefly, Judy.
Okay, when you are sending emails, I plead with you, do not put everybody's email address in to or CC. Make sure you put it in BCC, because as your emails go around the world in a packet, the bad guys are at home in their bathrobes and fuzzy slippers, capturing all the emails, addresses in to and CC, and that's how your email address gets hacked. And you start getting fraud and phishing emails from people. So please use BCC for everybody except to.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Well, this has been an information-packed conversation. I'd like to thank our wonderful panelists for sharing their time and advice today, Jackie Wiley and Sally Westlake with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And special thanks to Strat Maloma for managing the slides, and to Marissa Gazzardo for doing the behind-the-scenes work. If someone misses one of these links on the resources slide that's already come up, you will also get an email thanking you for attending, and you'll find those links in the thank you email. So if you missed it, don't worry, it's more coming. Now, to register for an upcoming event, for example, this coming Friday, we'll be talking about AI scams, and next Wednesday, we'll be talking about home repair scams. So just go to aarp.org/CA and then look for Scam Chat Wednesdays. Click on Scam Chat Wednesdays on that website. So thank you all in the audience for joining our conversation and for your wonderful comments and questions. I hope you found that our conversation was helpful and that you'll join us again Friday and Wednesday for more interesting conversations on frauds and scams. Meanwhile, if you have any questions about fraud, you can contact AARP Fraud Watch Network at 877-908-3360, or visit us at the URL on the slide. Thank you and goodbye. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.